All right. Thanks for coming to the fellow presentation. I hope you enjoyed our demonstration that we have been planning for months. Anyway, I think we're just gonna, the three of us are gonna run through our images and talk a little bit about ourselves and stuff, and hope you enjoy it. So, my name is Ethan Stern, and ever since I was a wee little glass blower, I always heard about coming to this place. And to me, I always heard about it as like the ultimate, the best residency, the best place you could go and to make work, and that they took care of you so well. There were so many things that you could use, and it just sounded like such a great thing. So then almost 9 years go by, and and then I finally find myself here. And I think I'm a really firm believer in kind of like things happening at the right time in your life, and if they do, they just, it changes the type of impact they have on your experience. And I feel like this is an appropriate time for me to be here. It feels right and it feels good. And it's a really interesting community, and it's really, really humbling to be kind of let into that community for a short period of time and allowed to just create artwork. And also the fellows, of course. There's two people, Vanessa and Josh, that I just met when I got here pretty much, and have bonded with over the last 4 weeks, and it's been pretty incredible. Anyway, Ethan Stern. I live in Seattle, Washington. I was born in Ithaca, New York, which is upstate New York on the Finger Lakes. This is Ithaca Falls, and Ithaca is gorgeous. If you haven't been there. Anyway, I started ceramics in high school, and after ceramics, I went to Alfred University to study ceramics further. And I was really interested in functional pottery, and my teacher at the time had been a graduate student in Alfred, and had really encouraged me to go, so I did. Growing up in Ithaca was a really incredible place to grow up. I felt it's really diverse, and of course Cornell University and the college are both there, so there's lots of smart people. Unfortunately, that brings with it a lot of college students who aren't always that smart, but it's a good time. So then Alfred made a bunch of art and realized that I wanted to start blowing glass. Kind of got that fever. Ceramics started to be a little bit less challenging for me than I wanted. So out to Seattle I moved, and I first started working at Pilchuck Glass School in 1999. And I started working there. Pilchuck is a school in Stanton, Washington. I started working there, and I met all kinds of really cool people, and like this. And I started working on staff. So when I started at Pilchuck in '99, I was a driver, drove the school van, and to pick up artists and do things, whatever. And then I did that for a few years, and I did the night watch, where I was like the security guard at night, and then drive a little more. And then I started to work in the studios and be a technician there. And so Pilchuck was a place where I really learned about the material, learned about the tools, and kind of was opened up to all different kinds of people who work with glass. And it just was blowing my mind every time I went back there. So when I graduated from Alfred in 2001, I moved out to Seattle and started working as a glassmaker. And basically when you graduate from Alfred, it's said, Fred Shiga, a professor there, he says that when you graduate from Alfred, you get a one-way bus ticket to Seattle. And so I took that up and I went, and I worked as a glass blower there for 2 years, 7 days a week, just to pay rent, working in production studios, hot casting, blowing, paperweights, Christmas ornaments, anything, bagging glass bags, charging furnaces, anything you could possibly think of that I could keep staying glass, I did. And I wasn't really making money, but I was working really, really hard. So after that 2 years, I found myself not being able to make my own artwork. And so at that point, I left Seattle and went to Tennessee, where I did a residency at the Appalachian Center for Crafts. And that was a great time for me to be able to step away from the kind of working glass industry and into a situation kind of like this, where I could only focus on making artwork and not on the overhead of life. And so this is actually shot that jumps way ahead in the future, 2008. This is me in my studio now. So now, through all this, traveling and things that I've done, this is where I now spend my days, is in front of this machine, which is a Czech engraving lathe, or sorry, it's German engraving lathe, and I cut glass sculpture. So I'm going to go through some of the sculptures that I've made over the years, starting in 2002, right around when I was going to the Appalachian Center for Craft. So these are blown glass, and they're multiple layers of color, and the color is cut through. So there's no sandblasting, it's all carved with diamond wheels and stone wheels on the lathe, similar to the one in the picture. And so these are vessels. At this point, I was still making the transition from ceramics to glass and thinking about the vessel a lot, and thinking about function and thinking about how we use objects in our own, spaces, and what those objects mean to us. And since then, and even till now, I definitely struggle with the idea that I'm creating these objects, and why am I creating them, and what are they for, and do people really need them? It's a question that I ask a lot. And I feel like there's something about them that helps me kind of like define myself. And as I've been making more and more work, it's almost like I like see, I know it sounds really cliche, but it's almost like you create work based on who you are and how you see the world. And it's almost like I have come out in my work, a lot, which is hard to explain. Anyway, so this is jumping ahead to sort of end of the time that I was in Tennessee. And so the shapes are starting to move a little bit away from the vessel. So these are all blown glass still. And so I was starting to think about the anatomy of the vessel, the idea of the foot, the body, the lip. Where does it end? Where does it begin? How does it sit on the surface of whatever it's sitting on? Does it have breath? Is it limp? Is it soft, hard, sharp, smooth? And all of these things that kind of are attributes of material and tactile kind of points that we experience every day. And so moving away from the vessel a little bit, trying to kind of focus on asymmetry and pushing the boundaries of function or of a vase or what we think that is. And at the same time, investigating pattern through cutting glass. Cutting glass is really, 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 really old tradition. So what I'm doing is nothing new. I'm using pretty much the exact same techniques that have been used in Czech Republic, in Italy, in Eastern Europe, and all over the place for a really long time. And so my challenge is to kind of figure out how I can create my own voice in that, and also in glass itself. And I think that's a big struggle for a lot of artists, especially in glass, because it has such a short history as an art form. How do you create your own voice and make it unique to yourself? So I'm going to kind of move through these a little bit more. This is Saffron King